Hola a todos. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr., Director of Marketing and Communications de la Plaza de Cultura y Artes, welcoming you to tonight's edition of En Casa con la Plaza. As you know, 3 times a week, we've been bringing you the best of our community's history, art, and culture from our home to yours with these presentations, conversations, demonstrations, and performances. We've been at it since April of 2020. Our sponsors today, Kaiser Permanente and PepsiCo. If you're joining us on Zoom, please use the chat features and the Q&A feature. Ask questions, make comments, let us know where you're tuning in from, where you're Zooming from. And we'll do shout outs. If you've joined us on Facebook, please use the comment section as well to ask questions, make comments. Let us know where you're viewing in from as well. Share with your friends. Every other month, we bring to you on Tuesdays, I think it's the 3rd Tuesday or the 2nd Tuesday of the month, the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation with their very influential Mexican American History Makers series. The Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation, also known as MASEF, their goal is to spotlight the endless contributions that Mexican Americans, Chicanos, Latinos, Hispanics, Latinx, or first-generation immigrants and their rich culture, our rich culture, has given to the United States of America. The president of MASEF is Jose Luis Ruiz, who attended UNAM, one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in North America. He's a nationally recognized professor, researcher, cosmetic dentist, Amazon bestseller, and award-winning Mexican-American novelist. He loves history, psychology, and especially his culture. So with that, please join us, Dr. Jose Luis Ruiz.
Well, thank you, Abelardo. What a nice introduction, and welcome, friends, to one more of this amazing events that we are so proud to do together with La Plaza de Cultura. What a great job our friends from La Plaza de Cultura are doing to showcase our beautiful culture. And as Abelardo mentioned, the mission of the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation is to change the distorted narrative that exists. And we all aware of the wrong information that exists out there about the Mexican American Chicanos, and I know, just like you, we sometimes watch TV and we get very upset about what we see. Do you know that 12% of the population of this country is of Mexican descent? 12%. To put things in perspective, African-American population is almost 14%. Now, when you watch TV, how often do you see beautiful stories about Mexican Americans? Real to life stories with greatly successful, brilliant people that our community has. Well, you know the answer. I don't have to tell you that. And for that reason, the MESA, or the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation, has launched a new initiative, and that is to promote films, TV shows that are made by Mexican Americans with beautiful Mexican American Chicano stories. And to do that, we are serious about it. We are offering 2 $10,000 grants for filmmakers who want to tell this type of stories. We are working in partnership with the American Film Institute, with the UCLA School of Film. We know, and in addition of the grants, we also have scholarships. So I encourage you to visit our website and to learn more about this. If you are a young filmmaker, if you are interested in seeing more stories, more real stories, not stereotypical or false like we see, but beautiful stories as we should see, of the greatly brilliant, artistic, and beautiful people of our community. And two, two of those people will be featured today, because this is the Mexican American History Maker event. And during this Mexican American History Maker event, we have featured very successful people that all of you know. Luis Valdez, who is the playwright who wrote La Bamba, directed La Bamba, and directed Zoot and directed so many other really famous movies, some of the few movies that have really made it big time about Mexican American Chicanos. Uh, uh, we had Ambassador Julian Nava, a politician, Gloria Molina, and so many incredibly successful, brilliant, and beautiful Mexican American people. Well, today we have two. Two is spectacular. We have a young activist, entrepreneur, and of course, we have our Mexican American history maker this time, Bel Hernandez. You are gonna love Bel. Some of you already know Bel. She is so loved in the Latino, Hispanic, Mexican American media, and her story is something that is absolutely worth spending time. So I'm happy that you guys are here to listen to her beautiful story and to be inspired by her. But we're going to start this event as usual with a pearl of wisdom by an up-and-coming, successful Mexican American, and that person today is going to be our friend Katia Miramontes. Katia is, as I mentioned before, she is an entrepreneur. She is a real estate agent. She's an activist. I can tell you that I've known her for years, and she's always been very proactive in helping our community, very outspoken about our community. And today we're gonna get an opportunity to learn a pearl of wisdom. Why is it a pearl of wisdom? Because this is a piece of information that we know is valuable for all of you, and we want to showcase an up and coming, a future history maker. So, Katia, I would like you to please turn your camera on, your mic on, and please share with you your pearl of wisdom.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Ruiz. Hi, everyone. So my name is Katia Miramontes, and I'm a real estate agent here in Los Angeles. And today, I really want to talk to you about what many would say is a major milestone or one of the most important components of achieving the American dream, which is home ownership. For many Americans, Latinos, Mexicans, the goal of owning a home has been ingrained into our minds, and it's seen as a major milestone that, we must work towards achieving. Owning a piece of property, those four walls and a roof can have so many meanings and benefits. It can give us a sense of well-being as we're providing shelter for ourselves and our families. It provides financial stability through fixed monthly payments and appreciation. And it also allows us to leave a legacy to our families, as it can be passed down to our children and their children. So, there's no doubt that there's something quite special about owning a piece of property. So let's talk about home ownership and Latinos and American today. How are we stacking up? How do we compare to the rest of the population in achieving this dream? And what are our roadblocks? And what can we do to get rid of those roadblocks? So today I want to share with you some really great and inspiring statistics. Despite the housing shortages that we've experienced this past few years, Latinos were the only demographic to increase the rate of home ownership. So for the last 5 consecutive years, over the past decade, Latinos have accounted for over 51.6% of the overall US home ownership growth. So what this tells me and tells everyone is that we're taking home ownership very seriously, and we're working hard to own a home. And although the home ownership rate of Latinos is still lower than whites, whites only contributed 1.5% of the overall growth in net home ownership. So, as you can see, there's a huge gap in the growth between Latinos and our white counterparts. So what are the characteristics of the Latino homeowner, and who are these buyers pushing the growth? The Latinos with the highest percentage of home ownership, which is 65.9%, are between the ages of 66 and 70 years old. So this is an older community, who holds most of the real estate, which is also true for most communities. It is important to note that our Latino population is a younger population. And as this group ages, so will the rate of home ownership among us. At the moment, millennials make up the largest share of home buyers at 37%, and this number keeps growing. And just so you know, 1 in 4 Latinos are millennials. So where are Latinos buying, and what are we buying? The markets with the most Latinos where Latinos are buying are Texas, New York, California, and Arizona. And Latinos tend to buy homes below the market median rate. So what does that mean? It means that we look for cheaper homes relative to what's available on the market. And we also buy more expensive homes relative to our income. So when we buy a property, we really are stretching. What are the barriers that our community faces today? Now, as you know, there's a huge demand for housing everywhere. And this makes it hard for everyone to find a home, but it makes it even harder for our community. And I want to tell you a little bit about why this is. For the most part, Latinos live in high-cost areas where housing is more expensive. Therefore, they require a bigger down payment, meaning that we need to save up more money that somebody else would live in a less expensive area. This high cost also causes our debt to income ratio to be higher. What this ratio means, or it measures, is it compares our income to our expenses. So if our debt to income ratio is high, banks will see us as more riskier buyers, so they might not want to lend the money to us. Or if they do lend us the money, then it comes at a higher cost. And it's also really unfortunate that our credit scores compared to the rest of the population is lower. This also doesn't look good when we apply for a loan, and it makes a huge difference in the type of loan that we get and in the type of interest rates that we get. But to me, really the biggest barrier that we face is the lack of education, because when you know better, you do better. Buying a home is often the largest financial purchase that people will make, and it can be a confusing and overwhelming process to anyone in general. So now imagine if there's a language barrier, if there's a cultural barrier, and you're doing it for the first time. This makes this process even more challenging, and it also exposes you as you might end up trusting the wrong people or really just taking the wrong advice. So what are the things that we can do when we want to start buying a home? How can we get over these roadblocks and make sure that we achieve our goals successfully? Really, the best thing that anyone can do when they're starting their journey is, to save as much money as possible so that you can buy something within your means and you're not house poor. It's to really watch your credit, as credit makes a huge impact on the type of loan that you get and the interest rate that you're going to get. And to do your research. There's so many resources available online, both in English and Spanish, that can tell you about the process. And it's really to find the right team of people that are going to help you, get there. And this may mean that you might have to enroll a parent or a friend who's going to keep you accountable with your saving goals, to find a great lender who can help you navigate the financing part of buying a home. And it's to find a trustworthy real estate agent also, who can help you navigate the market and really give you the right advice. Now, I want to point out that these numbers were before COVID. And obviously this pandemic has affected our community, and there might be some change on our growth rate. However, as I was preparing for this speech, I felt extremely proud of ourselves, because despite of all the challenges that we're facing, we continue to fight for our families, and we continue to fight for our dreams. Real estate has been a resource of wealth for many Americans. And it just brings me tremendous joy that we're taking notes and we're taking action and we're going for a piece of the pie. So I just know that this will have a positive impact in not only our personal lives, but also as a community.
Very, very good. What a great information. I mean, you had some really interesting numbers that I didn't know about. So we definitely, I'm sure that we will have people that are going to have questions, you know, so I know that Abelardo usually likes to keep those towards the end. So
yeah,
maybe we can ask you questions later, and you know what the audience might be thinking, you know, but no doubt about the fact that the owning a home is the biggest investment, and it's done correctly, and that's the point that you made. If we are well advised and we, you know, do it correctly, it will be, you know, the biggest source of residual income that we will ever have. So that's very special.
Yes,
very important information. Thank you. Well, now is the time to meet our Mexican American history maker. And I know, you know, many of you already know Bel Hernandez. Bel Hernandez is a person who has done many things in her life and has helped many people. She is an actress. She's a producer. She's an author. She is done theater and film. She is the founder of Latin Heat and co-founder of Latina Fest. Two huge enterprises that have really propelled Latinos of all different types into the film industry, and really it's something that makes us very proud. We're so excited to have her today. Bel, are you there?
I am. I sure am.
And you look lovely, by the way. I love that dress.
Thank you so much. You're so kind.
Well, throughout this conversation, as usual, when we have the interviews with the history makers, we will get to know a little bit about what has made Bel this powerhouse, this powerful woman of Hollywood that has helped so many careers propel into stardom, and she's just starting. She's just beginning. So it's so exciting to have you here today and to learn a little bit about you, Bel. So we will, we will be having a chat. I'll ask you a few questions, and as you know, you tell us about your life. And I know that your life started in Mexico. You're a Mexican American Chicana, but born in Mexico, right?
Yes. I was born in Momac, Zacatecas. Little town, not even a town. It's the ranchos around the town. And my mom was a widow. I was born, and she decided soon after that she wanted to come to the U.S. to look for a better life. And so she left us 4 kids behind with the grandparents. And it took her 2 years to finally come and get us. And I was about 6 when I came to the U.S. Didn't know a word of English and had to go to school, and I was super scared. But within 2 years, I became my mother's translator because she didn't speak English.
Wow, we see a photo of your beautiful family.
Yes.
And now, you know, I think we Mexican Americans know that the women are powerful. Mexican American women are always the engine of the family. And I can see now, after seeing that photo, why you're such a powerful woman. I'm sure you have.
My mom is just one powerful woman, and that's for another story, because it would be just a tribute to her to have left her 4 kids and actually said, I'll be back. And she did, where sometimes, you know, it wasn't possible for other people. But yes, she's a very strong woman.
Wow, wow, wonderful. That's amazing. Well, I know that you went to Roosevelt High School,
Yes.
um, and I know that that had an important influence in your life. And I know school usually has sometimes a positive and sometimes a negative influence in people's lives. Tell us a little bit about Roosevelt High School and your time.
Well, Roosevelt is a great school in Boyle Heights. They're known for a rivalry that they have with another school, which is Garfield, and they have the classic football games every year. And but everybody who lived in Boyle Heights knows about this school. Boyle Heights, when we moved there, was still you still saw some Jewish people there. So we met Jewish people that lived across the street from us. And I actually grew up watching telenovelas, and I never saw myself on the screen. And then I watched the Brady Bunch, and I wasn't there either. But growing up in Roosevelt, there were two things that really changed my life while I went to that high school. One of them was that I discovered folklorico. And I really felt a calling to Mexican folk dance because it was Mexican and I considered myself a Mexican. So I discovered the folklorico class there, and I was in the class and I became one of the dancers. We had a group. We would travel to do performances. We performed at the Amundsen Theater at the Music Center through a school program. And the other thing that I discovered while going to Roosevelt High School was that I discovered activism. Um, I had um, it was during the student walkouts, and I got involved with that. And then I was part of the walkouts when we would go to the Los Angeles Unified School District.
Wow, I were you scared?
No, we weren't scared. No, I mean, we're kids. We didn't know. But the one thing that did get me scared is that we kept going out and protesting. And one time we were having a protest in the school, in the yard, and they called the cops. And we were yelling and protesting, and the cops said, "Okay, you guys, if you don't go back to your classrooms, you're going to be arrested." And so I was there really brave. I'm not going back to my classroom, Chicano power. And then they started counting down like 9, 8, 7. And as they kept counting down, I'm like, started getting more and more scared. When they reached about 6, I said, "I'm out of here." And I started running. And we ran to the classroom. And one of our teachers was a Chicana, and she let us in. And we were safe. But we weren't scared. I mean, I think I was too young and too excited about the movement to be scared. And I didn't start thinking that, well, we were exercising our rights to protest, so we weren't being violent or anything. But no, I think it was a real eye-opener for me. And that's what kind of put the seed in my mind that if you don't like something and you speak up, you will make a difference.
That's such an important thing to remember and to consider, because sometimes we just stay quiet and that is the worst possible thing that we
Yes.
can do.
Mhm.
Now, you've been a very successful actress. But the question is, how do you go from an activist and Chicano power to be an actress?
Okay, well, that actually that journey took me. My folklorico dancing took me to Mexico City, the mecca of ballet folklorico. I studied with the great Amalia Hernandez. I performed for professionally for 2 years, and then I came back to the U.S. And when I got back to the U.S., I was dancing with a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, Miguel Delgado, who was a wonderful director of a group called Teatro Mexicano de Danza, which was a folklorico group, but he was already experimenting with other forms of dance where Latinos had a big footprint on, and that one of those was the 40s and the boogie. And he got hired for the play Zoot Suit as one of the characters, but also as the assistant choreographer. And when the first cast went to Broadway, they needed to recast. And when they recast, he told me, go audition for this play. And of course, I was auditioning as a dancer, so I didn't have to act. But we did have, I did get the part. And that's how I got into acting, because once I was a dancer in Zoot Suit, I started seeing the world of acting, because I was doing a show with all these actors, and I thought that this was a great job, because Zoot Suit, every night we had a standing ovation, every single night. It didn't matter. And I was in the play for about a year. And we also had like John Travolta came to see the show, Natalie Wood came to see the show, Robert Wagner, all of these big stars, the Governor Brown. And so I thought, wow, I like this acting. Look at, everybody stands up and claps for you every night, and you get all these celebrities that come and see you. I think I'm going to pursue this. Of course, that was not the case. No, this was a very special play, and that's why it got the response that it did. But I was able to, I actually did go on for the girl that I was understudying. And an understudy is just that you step in for the person when, if something happens, and something did happen, and I stepped in for her. Wasn't a lot of lines, but I started to take classes, and I started to say, oh, I like this, and you know, I'm going to pursue this as a career. And I did. I was an actress for over 12 years. I did, you know, television, I did theater, I did movies, commercials, and I was making a living as an actress. After I started taking classes and started doing theater, which is where you really hone your acting. So that's how I transitioned into acting from being a folklorico dancer.
Wow, that's a really cool story. And of course, as you had just mentioned, it took, once you had this opportunity, you didn't waste it. You study, you
Yeah.
put your energy, and you know, we know that you have energy, and you put all your energy into becoming a great actress. And that's, it's such an important thing to remember, to put, you know, to when you have a dream, to just go for it with 100% of the energy, right? Now I have a question for you, which, you know, tell us, do you think that being, you know, you started your career as at a show that was about Mexican American suits, you know, and that was such successful. But do you think that being Mexican American Latina was something that helped your career, or the opposite?
I guess if you look at it, in the fact that I loved folklorico, I found that that's where I belonged, in dancing folklorico, because I needed something to identify with. And since I was a Mexican, folklorico was something that drew me in. And when we danced and when we heard the songs, it was such a source of pride. And so in that form, I've always been very proud of being a Mexican and then a Chicana. Um, but in acting, it didn't really hurt me personally, because I always knew who I was. But the prejudice and the racist attitudes of some people in the industry, that hurt. That hurt not just my career, but every Latina in the as an actress during that time, because we were not allowed to audition for lead roles. There weren't any lead roles that were being written at that time. So how could we audition for them? And so it, in that sense, it hurt my career. It never hurt me personally. I guess
Exactly.
by extension it did, but it was mostly what I kept and what I took is that I was proud of being a Mexican, and
Well,
that sustained me. Yeah.
what a lovely thought, and no question about that. I think that, you know, that probably, unfortunately, while there's been some improvement, but we still find that when we watch TV and the movies, we are not represented at the percentage that we are there, right? Because we're 12% of the population, and we rarely see a Mexican American, you know, or Latino have the amount of roles that should be out there. So we're almost forgotten. We're almost erase of the, so
When you
uh,
say 12%, are you talking about Mexican Americans or Latinos?
no, when I say 12%, I'm talking about Mexican Americans, people of Mexican descent.
Yes, because as a
17%.
whole, yeah, as a whole, we're 18.5%
Yeah.
of the population, but 12 out of those 18, 12% are Mexican Americans. So yes,
So out of the 18%, close to 18% that you mentioned that are Latino, 70%, almost 70% are Mexican American,
yes.
right?
Mhm.
So we're by far the majority, by far the majority, you know. And of course, we Mexicans here have 180 years of history. You know, a third of this country was Mexico. So you know, there's a reason why there's so many Mexicans here, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, there's a really cool story that I heard that you were involved in, and this is really something that I think we all want to hear. We know that you know the in the 80s, or I believe in the 80s, the first effort to bring into life the story of Frida in film was started.
Right.
And there was a tremendous controversy that happened, and you were involved in that. Tell us that story.
Yes, well, as I was mentioning, while we were acting, there were no roles that were like lead roles for Latinas. There were very few, and some of them, when there were given to Anglos. Like, for instance, there was a movie called The House of the Spirits by Allende, and that Isabel Allende, and those roles were cast with non-Latinos. They cast with Anglos. I think. Who was that? Was not Meryl Streep, but the other really fine actress. Anyway, they were cast non-Latina. And it just kept happening. You know, if there were lead roles, they would never see Latinas and would not consider us. And so there was this movie, and it was a movie about Frida. And it was written by Luis Valdez, and it was set up at New Line Cinema. And all of a sudden, we heard that it was cast, and that it had been cast with Laura San Giacomo. And we, a group of us women, were just so incensed that we didn't even get the opportunity to audition. And so one of the women, her name is Diana Ortelli, we were all bemoaning everything. And she said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to do something. And we just said, okay, what are you doing? And so then we all jumped on board. We decided to do a protest. And we sent out a press release. We got coverage nationally. And we all dressed up as Frida, and we picketed New Line Cinema. And we said, well,
The photo right there.
that's it. And you can see there, we got the children involved. Those are my two daughters. I'm sitting there with the yellow rebozo.
Oh,
Diana
really?
is the one that has the sign, and my two daughters are in the front. And it was an amazing, amazing event, because all these women got together to plan this. But also you had actors like Isai Morales. You see him in the back right there. You had actors like Yvonne Cole, who was who played the mother in Jane the Virgin. So we had, all of us just got together, and they said, well, there were no Latinas that could audition. That's why we didn't cast one. And you guys don't have a name. And so we cast Laura San Giacomo, and we're like, okay, she's got a name. As one of the reporters who reported on the story, she was on television, and she was mentioning that the producer said that there were no Latinas, and they cast Laura, and she kept stumbling over her name. So she wasn't a household name. But the point of the matter is that we were done. We were tired of us not being given the opportunity to audition. So from there, after the protest, we started talking and said, why do they say there's no talent when we know all the talent? We know the actors that are good. They just don't know them. So we all decided, okay, let's start a newsletter so that we can tell them, here are all the actors, here are all the producers, here are all the directors, here are all the actors. And so a big part of that group that was part of the protest helped to put the first one together. We all like put in money and we all did our first newsletter. And then Loida Ramos and myself, we kept going with the newsletter as the two editors. And we soon got tired of just bitching about the fact that we had no roles. And we started highlighting the producers that were doing things like Aaron Spelling. Aaron Spelling was doing Beverly Hills 90210 at that time, and he actually was hiring Latinos on that show. As a matter of fact, when I left acting, I had gotten one of the roles in the pilot. So I was going to be recurring on that. And so then we started saying, okay, this producer does hire Latinos. And we just started reporting on the issues, the talent, the castings. And from there, we really picked up a lot of steam. We had a lot of studios and networks reaching out to us. We had stories to tell, and we would take meetings with the networks and the studios. And then from there, we decided that we needed to broaden our footstep. And so we started an entertainment conference, the Latin Heat Entertainment Conference.
That's the birth of the famous Latin Heat Entertainment. How exciting.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And so, yeah, that's how we kept going. And we've been covering Latinos in Hollywood for so long. We've brought together, yes, we these are some of, you should see our first issue. It was a mimeographed, typewritten little mimeographed magazine. And, this was now in 2004. So from 1992 to 2004, we definitely were doing the printed issue with a lot of information. As you can see here, it's about marketing, it's Emmys, it's about the Spain film market, the trends and Hollywood DC connection, and George Lopez, who was the first actor who actually made the word Mexican not be a bad word in Hollywood, because he was so proud of being Mexican. When he did his show, he'd always called himself a Mexican. And I think that Hollywood finally got like comfortable with Mexicans through George, even though he's so outrageous. But there was a lot that we did. And, I had a lot of different mentors during this time, like the publisher of Hollywood Reporter. We would meet every month to talk shop, because Hollywood Reporter is the other trade publication, one of the other big trade publications. And he would, this is our conference. They ran the story on our conference. At this time, this was the 6th annual one, because we ran it for like 7 years, and we were honoring Rita Moreno. And if you see there, that's Rita Moreno and those other 2 girls. Actually, the one on the left is a director and the other one is an actress. They were the original cast members from when they did West Side Story. So they got up during the gala that night, and they danced part of the choreography from West Side Story. Anyway, we had people would come from the networks and the studios to talk about Latinos, to meet Latinos. It was a great networking hub for the conference. That's one of the ways we extended our brand, and we got more people involved. We also brought together like people to be featured in the Hollywood Reporter. The publisher asked me, give me 7 people who are doing something right now in Latino Hollywood, and they featured them in their MIP issue. We also, I put together a whole group of people with actors, directors, producers for an article in Movie Maker magazine. And they just stated the whole situation of where Latinos in Hollywood were at that time. I think that was about 1998 or 2000. And, there's so much. Another mentor of mine was the president of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Her name was Merle Marshall Daniels. And she was so great during our conference. She gave us the theater, the one that's on Lancashire, to have one of our screenings. just because she understood what we were trying to do. And she also recommended me to be on the board of the Peabody Awards. And the Peabody Awards is an organization that honors the excellence in TV, film, radio, and the internet.
And
And
you, in
while
fact,
I was,
oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to mention that you were, in fact, were the first ever Latina to chair the Peabody Award. So that was quite an honor. And as you've been quoted by a number of journals, you changed the narrative. You were very, very involved and changing the narrative because you believe that what we see is what we believe. Right?
definitely, definitely. I think
So,
we all are aware of that. I believe that's why you have the Black Lives Matter movement, or the movement within the entertainment industry by all ethnicities, the African Americans, Latinos, and Asians and Native Americans, because it's been so long that we've been kept out of the screen. And when we were on the screen, it was always negative. It
right.
was always stereotypical. And so I believe that, a lot of the work that has been done, not only by us and Latin Heat, but people that came before us, like Nosotros, and there was an organization that National Hispanic Media, the National Hispanic Media
Media
Coalition.
Coalition.
All of these organizations, it's taken 25 years, because this was over 25 years when I'm talking about doing this conference, when we're talking about when the publication came out. So it's taken that long for the little bit of movement that you see now. And it is so rewarding to see showrunners, to see like a Tanya Saracho or a Gloria Khaled Calderon, so many other writers and producers and directors who are now really getting in there and making their voice heard and leading some of these projects that now are focused authentically on our people.
That's such a good, and it must be very rewarding to know that you had, a lot to do with this. Tell me a little bit about your endeavors as a producer. You've done a number of shows, and The Trend, Let's Talk, and more recently the David Damien Show.
Mhm.
How do you like that? Is this something that you enjoy doing?
Yes, I do. And because one of the things that we used to say during the conference was that if they don't let you have a piece of the pie, then you need to make your own pie. And what's happened with technology, Latin Heat now exists. We printed for 13 years, but now it exists online at latinheat.com. But one of the things that technology has given us, it's democratized a lot of the producing, so that if you want to produce, you can produce and you can distribute online. And back in 2009, we were always complaining. Again, Diana was part of this group for the talk show. We were always complaining that there were no Latinas on The View. Why were there no Latinas on The View? So we decided, let's make our own View. And we put a show together. We partnered with Blanca Valdez, a casting director. We partnered with Miguel Torres, who's a producer. My husband, Enrique Castillo, directed. And myself, Diana Ortelli, Maravina Jaimes, and Quique Castillo, we were the hosts. And it was like The View, but it was topics that we wanted to talk about, topics about, whether it's Latinas, whether it was real estate. This what you're seeing now was after we did Let's Talk. We were picked up by CBS KCAL 9, and we had to change the name to Hola LA because they already had The Talk, so they didn't want it to be Let's Talk. So there you go. And then Naive came in. Naive is over in the yellow. She came in about, Maravina left and she came in. So when we went to CBS KCAL 9, it was 4 of us. And so we were there for a while, and we just wanted to say Latinas have something to say, and we want to make sure we create our own vehicle. And Let's Talk, like I said, was picked up by CBS. And now after we were there for 3 years, we went out on our own and we did the Trend Talk, which the Trend Talk is currently airing on Me TV network in LA, KAZA, and on the internet on IGTV and Facebook Watch. And we continue to create. We created another short form content like First Look Fridays. And all of this now, in addition to our editorial on Latin Heat, now we also do video that we can show our own proprietary video. So, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, just follow one after the other. And if we can produce, why not, right? Why not also produce the stage production from a book that I was part of? I wrote one of the,
tell us about that.
yeah, I wrote one of the chapters in 8 Ways to Say I Love My Life. And from there, we produced it, adapted it into a theatrical play. And we won the Imagen Award for the theatrical production. And it was 8 women. Each of us wrote our story about what we went through and if there was a bad time and we triumphed. So that's the book that we did. And so, yes, producing is something that if someone is not creating a vehicle for you, you have an opportunity to create it yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that perspective, you know, that power. And talking about creating something, I mean, you created so many things. And also talking about Naive, who you mentioned a minute ago, you both started this event that has become huge now. I actually happened to attend to one of those Latina Fest events, and it was huge. There were thousands of people. It was super fun, and it was all about empowering women. Tell us a little bit about Latina Fest.
Well, Latina Fest actually came about because Naive and I were the 2 hosts of the Trend Talk. And we were talking about how we had seen another organization do like a conversation on stage. And we thought, wouldn't it be great to do one of these events and also, you know, do our show and tape our show on stage? And that was how it started. And the first year, we went to La Plaza, which is where we have it, La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. And I remember that Jana Echaveste asked us, like, how many people do you think are going to come to this event? And Naive said, I think about 400. And actually, we had 2,000 people come on our first event. And what it is, it's a outdoor festival that celebrates Latinas in every aspect. And the big component of this festival is vendors, Latina entrepreneurs or Latina vendors who come and they sell their whatever they're selling, clothing, jewelry. Some of them were selling books. Some of them were selling their services, massages and makeup and hypnotherapy. And as a matter of fact, the first year we produced Latina Fest, we had about 4 or 5 businesses that launched that year. Wow. And they're still going strong. And we had our second one in 2019. Our first one was in 2018. Our second one was in 2019. And then we missed 2020. We had a virtual because of COVID. And we're happy to say that this year we're back at La Plaza, October 17th. Great. And for anyone out there that would love to come, it's a wonderful time. You get to see performances, you get to see speakers, you get to eat and shop and dance and just have a great time. So October 17th.
Yeah, I remember. I was, you know, I the energy at that event was just amazing. Everybody was so energized and happy and excited. What a great event, and what a exciting. I mean, of course, you have so much more to give, but what a great life you have had so far, Bel. You so to the point that the Movie Maker magazine named you the godmother of Latin Hollywood, or Latino Hollywood, which that's quite a statement right there, Bel. So
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I mean, I know that it must feel very special.
You know, it was special, and that was at the time when I was speaking a little bit earlier, when we were putting all these groups together and having filmmaker, a movie maker magazine do an article. We were doing the collaborations with the Hollywood Reporter. We were doing our entertainment conference, and so it felt really good that we were doing something that was pushing the narrative and putting Latinos who were very talented and were not getting the coverage on the other in the other trades. It felt really good to know that we were providing that access. And it's always been about elevating Latinos in the entertainment industry, spotlighting Latinos in the entertainment industry, because I do believe that media helps make a career, because you can be the greatest director and the greatest writer, and if you don't get that chance, and if you don't get that press, or if you have a movie and it doesn't get that press, then it's going to be harder to promote the movie or to promote yourself. And so I think being an entertainment trade comes with that responsibility of looking
Exactly.
for the talent that's there and covering them and giving them press, because they can use that press and send it out and say, I was covered here. As a matter of fact, I have a really interesting story that when we first started, I think we were in our third year, we had this manager that came in and said, I have this young kid and he's so talented. I know he's going to be a star, but can you please cover him? Can you write an article? And we said, sure. And that little boy not little boy, he was a teenager, was Jay Hernandez. And Jay Hernandez is a big mega star right now on television. He's
Wow.
Magnum PI. Plus he's done
Wow.
so many other things. And so we said, sure. And so we covered him. We did a story on him. And he came back and he told us, I took this article and I went to Hollywood Reporter and I said, oh, well, I already got some press from Latin Heat. Can you do a story on him? And they did a story on him. So, you know, we need trades. We need trades to pay attention to our talent. We need trades to write about that, our talents. And that's been our niche. We write
Very-
about Latinos in Hollywood, Latinos in media. So
eh,
it's been great. And I'll take that honor because I really am about helping. We are about helping Latinos.
and
And
you work very, very hard, and you have used your energy to help so many people, and you've done it basically out of your own hard work with your own funds, but bootstrapping it. And but now I understand that you are taking things to a different level, and you're starting to raise funds. Tell us a little bit about that.
you know, I believe that what's happened is that the industry has, when we started, there were no A-list Latino talent at that time, other than, of course, the greats, you know, Ricardo Montalban and the ones that, you know, came from that golden era of Hollywood. But really to say that there were, I mean, Rita Moreno was there, a few people were there, not to say that there weren't, Hector Elizondo was there, Ricardo Montalban was still alive, but the younger generation, there wasn't really anyone. Nowadays, you have all of these powerhouse Latinas that have their own production company, like Eva Longoria, America Ferrera, Gina Rodriguez, Salma Hayek, and Zoe Saldana. So basically, we have grown. A lot of it has been through the efforts of these women who are dedicated to expanding opportunities for people as well, for expanding opportunities for other Latinas as well. So basically what's happened is that now there's so much more to cover. There's so many more up and comers. There's so many now stars that are now on a regular on a TV show as regulars. So we need to step up our game because we need to hire more writers. We need to have a bigger footprint. And therefore, I was asked to be in a business accelerator. And this business accelerator helps you like find and fine tune your business, and so that you can go out and seek funding, because we have to play with the big boys now. And we've always had to play with the big boys, but we just weren't there. Now I feel that Latin Heat needs to go and take that big step to grow with how our industry is growing, and to be there to cover not just the A-listers, but the up and comers. And, you know, we've always operated with a small staff, and there's always been so many wonderful people that have contributed to the editorial. I mean, Julio Martinez, a great TV writer who's been with us, I think, throughout our whole journey. Elia Esparza and Loida Ramos and Nancy de los Santos and Julie Carmen, who helped with the conference. There's been so many people that have helped. And but they're not employees, and they can't do that full time, and they're generous to give up their time. So now we need to go to that next level. We need to really take a big leap. And so I'm excited about that opportunity to be able to raise some funds and really step up our game. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Wow, that's very, very excited and very, very needed. You know,
Yes,
you're
definitely.
absolutely right. We need that. We need your hard work, and we're very, very proud of you. We know that you're surrounded by brilliant people. We know that you're married to a very successful actor, Enrique Castillo, and you have a daughter, or as far as I know, one daughter that is a very successful actress, Karina. So you're from a family of brilliant people. We're so proud of that. Tell me something. If you were 12 and you were to talk to yourself as a 12-year-old little girl with big dreams, what would be your advice?
You are beautiful, and your culture is beautiful, and you can do anything that you want to do if you work hard. I think that I learned that I could do anything that I wanted to do after I started the magazine, like 5 years afterwards, like when we were making things happen, and we were getting meetings with the network presidents and the network executives, and just, you know, being at the Peabody Awards with all of these stars from the entertainment industry. I didn't know that I could do that, and I didn't learn until then, you know. And it takes your parents letting you know that you can, but it also takes, for me, there was a lot of shame in being who I was. I was made to feel ashamed. I was made, when I said my name, and they looked and they would scowl at my name, because my real name is Belarmina. And every school semester, the new school semester, I would cringe because they couldn't pronounce it. I remember going to the Amundsen to do folklorico, as I told you, during high school. And I remember the other kids looking at us and laughing at us. You know, so all of that doesn't give you a lot of confidence. But that's why I say that when I started my folklorico and was impassioned to dance, when I became activated with the Chicano movement, when I started publishing, that's when everything really came together. And I realized, oh, if I want to produce a show, I can do it. Oh, if I want to do an event, I can do that. If I want to go be in the Peabodys and sit with all of these noted journalists, because it was journalists from the top newspapers around the world, and around the US. And if I wanted I was sitting there with everyone. I was the chair, the last year of being a chair of the Peabodys. I was standing at the podium speaking to all of the, Stephen Colbert was there and all of these big stars, and I was speaking to everybody. And I didn't realize that I could do whatever I wanted until, God, I was like maybe, 40. And that's a long time to wait. I just think, wow, if I would have realized this before, I can imagine, I think about that. But that's what I would tell a 12-year-old, be proud of who you are. You are somebody and you can do whatever you want.
Well, you have certainly given all of us a lot of reasons to be proud. You have helped so many people in our community, start their careers, as you just mentioned, and we're so happy that we had the opportunity and the honor to share your story with our friends. I'm sure that there's a lot of young Mexican American girls and Latino girls of all types that will be thinking, I want to be like Bel, and
Wow.
certainly we hope that there will be, that we will have more and more of this powerful women like you. And we also want to thank our Pearl of Wisdom, Katia Miramontes, who also shares some very valuable information. Where the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation's mission is to change that narrative, to remind us that we are from a culture that is rich and beautiful and brilliant, and we have hundreds of years of our culture that demonstrated, the central culture of the continent with beautiful art and beautiful literature. And so no wonder we have people like Bel Hernandez and like Katia. So thank you, my friends. Abelardo, I know you're there, and we probably took a couple of extra minutes than planned, but what a beautiful story. Thank you, Bel. So Abelardo, I leave it to you. I pass the mic to you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ruiz. Thank you very much, Bel and Katia. This was great. It could go on a little bit longer, but we have a lot of questions. I know it's going to take a little time here. Let's see. First of all, for Katia, what are we hear a lot about the opportunities, of course, for buying a home. We hear reports of how housing prices are really going sky high right now. So what are the greatest opportunities or the hot housing market for Latinos here in Southern California?
Opportunities as far as what, like which areas, or yeah,
Yes.
I mean, really, all of LA, all of Southern California has really many great neighborhoods. It's really all about the lifestyle that you're looking for. And if you're planning to move into the property, or if you're looking as an investment property. So it just really goes, case by case scenario. What we are seeing is that we're finding a lot of growth in communities that are a lot of gentrification, actually, unfortunately, in communities where many Latinos live. So for the Latinos that can stay there, the homeowners there, that's really great for them. But, also one of the challenges that we are seeing is that many are being priced out of those communities.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, if you could put on the chat there on Zoom contact information so that people could contact you if they have any additional questions. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We've had a lot of comments here on Facebook and also here on Zoom. People that tuned in. Maria Terry Orozco says, hi, everyone. Ana Lu from Orange was very vocal about the wonderful dialogue that was going on. Virginia Sevelli Ramirez Sanchez says hello. But we do have some questions here from Diana Encarnacion. She's saying, why are Latinos, Chicanos being represented in any of the award shows this year? And probably for years past and years to come, it seems like we were always overlooked no matter how far we've come. So what could you say about that, Bel?
Well, to be able to have someone at the awards, first there has to be a job. First there has to be a project. and there were no movies last year that had any Latinos in the leads, the big movies that were nominated. So there's no Latinos in front of the camera. And why the studios are not greenlighting Latino movies, a lot of them come from independent filmmakers, which means they don't go to a studio to get money, because when they do, the studios won't give them the money. And then also, you have to have people that are in the academies, the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences or the Academy of Motion Pictures. You have them, you have to be in there so you can vote for projects. And there are not a lot of Latinos in there. There are a lot more than there used to be, because in the past 3 years, they have been allowing and nominating like several a year. But basically, the projects aren't there. Basically, the studios aren't greenlighting projects with Latinos in the leads, and they're not being nominated. And it takes a lot to be nominated, because once you're nominated, you have to spend a lot of money to be able to get in front of the people that vote. So basically, we need more roles written, more roles greenlit at the studios.
And may I say, that is the Mexican American Cultural Foundation is currently providing two $10,000 grants to Mexican American filmmakers that are gonna write a short film or television pilot that they can take to the studios with beautiful stories and try to, you know, as Bel very wisely said, if they're not making projects, we have to make the projects, and that's what we're trying to do. We're going to provide $40,000 in scholarships with a partnership with the American Film Institute, with UCLA Film School, and in May 15 and 16, we have the Mexican American Film and Television Festival. And that we're going to celebrate and promote the heck out of beautiful stories that are being made and that we're going to be involved with. So we hope that you know, that we're gonna make a big difference. And so
and to add to that, Dr. Ruiz, is that, you know, there are awards shows that honor Latinos, and that people say, why do you have them? Well, because we're not represented at the Oscars or at the Emmys for the most part. So to that, the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation and this festival is going to have and honor the filmmakers that participate in the film festival. So we have to honor our own. We have to make our own, honor our own, and write about our own. We have to put that and make it work in conjunction, because that's how you build an industry. That's how you build buzz about people. You honor them, and you write about them, and you make movies about them. And if they're not going to do it, we have to do it ourselves. And we as a community have the buying power to support our own movies. Latinos are annually spend $1.7 trillion. They buy. It's a purchasing power. It's a GDP. And if we were a country with that much GDP, we would be the 8th largest country, the 8th largest economy. So just US Latinos. We're not even talking about Latinos in Latin America and other countries. We're talking about US Latinos. So we can sustain ourselves, but we just need to all figure out that we matter. We need to see ourselves on screen. We need to support the movies. We need to write about it. We need to read about it. And we need to support, because if we don't, no one else is going to support it. It's obvious. We've seen it.
All right, a question here from Miriam Lopez. Are stars that you mentioned, like Eva Longoria, America Ferrera, and others, are they helpful in these endeavors?
Oh my God, yes, yes. It's the women. It's the women that are supporting a lot of the women. First of all, they put together like a breakfast and brought all the Latinas that are on a show or are like a series, and they had a brunch, and they all said, guys, we got to support each other. Not only that, America Ferrera, Eva Longoria, Salma Hayek, Gina Rodriguez, and Zoe Saldana, they all have production companies. They are all producing movies. And for the most part, they're Latino themed movies and TV shows. So these women are so supportive. So that's one thing you got to say, you know, it starts with all of us. But if you can get people with that kind of visibility to do it and actually create work for us, you know, we're on our way. Everyone needs to get on board and support.
That's true. And Dr. Ruiz, if you could just type in on the chat where people could find out more information on those 2 grants that you're speaking of, and also on the film festival. And so people on Zoom will be able to link to that, and I could pass it over to our friends on Facebook who have tuned in as well. We'll take one more question here. We have from Davidia Vega Barba. Do the young up and coming Latinos, Latinas, do you feel that they have a strong pride and appreciation for their culture? She says that we're so far removed from the Chicano movement time-wise that she wonders if the younger generation is aware of what was fought for, in particular the young up and coming actors.
You know, I find that the young up and coming, the young Latinos, the millennials, and the ones that come after that, they grew up basically with parents who were proud or who were from the Chicano movement. And what I find is that they have a very strong sense of who they are, and they have a pride on on their culture. And a lot of them, for the most part, also because now it's cool to be Latino, to be Mexican, to be Puerto Rican, to be Cuban. It is cool. Like before it wasn't. And now, if you notice, everybody loves the food. And then you have Danny Trejo, and they love Danny Trejo, and they love George Lopez, and everybody wants to work with Eddie Olmos and Eddies and Mayans. And so it's cool. I mean, everywhere you look, people they know more Latinos. They read more, there's more books, there's more movies, even though they're independent, for the most part, about Latinos. So yes, I do think that they may not know the history of the Chicano movement. They may not be Chicanos, but they have been instilled a pride for the most part. There's still some people that have no clue. But for the most part, I find the young kids, they have a sense of who they are. And they're not afraid to say, I'm a Lopez, I'm a Gutierrez, I'm a Martinez. So yes, I see that.
Oh no, speaking of that, I know that the actor who was formerly on Sight, he's now on A Million Little Things. He started off as James Roday, and now he's James Roday Rodriguez. So he took in his culture, proud of it, and now is probably more bankable because of that.
Yeah, you know, before I used to find a lot of Latinos when we would cover them in Latin Heat, and I would find all these Latinos who were producing or whatever, and I would reach out to them, and they would tell me, the first thing they would say is like, I don't have any problems, you know, and I'm a Latino, but I don't want to be a protester. You know, and they didn't embrace their Latinidad or their culture. And then as they got into it, as they get older, they would become what I would call, and I used to call, a born again Latino. Because as you get older, you want to know where you come from. You want to know your roots. And then you want to know, I mean, I'll give you a really good example. Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba did not want to say she was Latina. We would cover her. We weren't able to interview her sometimes because a lot of times their publicists would just say, no. If it wasn't Hollywood Reporter or Variety, no, we're not, she's not available, even though she might have been, but they wouldn't even ask her. But now, and she says it herself, I am proud of my Latino roots. I am proud of being Mexican. And they're coming out, you know, because to me, there was a stigma with being Latino. There was a stigma with being Mexican. That's why I appreciate George, who made Mexican a good word. So now there isn't that much of a stigma. So people are embracing who they are.
All right. One last question from an anonymous attendee. What is the next focus to breaking these barriers or stereotypes for Mexicans and other Latinos in storylines in television and film?
Well, there are now a lot of big voices in television, a lot of creators who are getting shows, and one of them is Gloria Khaled Calderon. The other one is Tanya Saracho, but there's a lot of other women, Luisa Leshin. These are all writers that have been honing their craft for a long time, and now they're selling their shows. One person is Elaine Del Valle from New York, and she had to write her own one-woman show to be able to show her acting chops. Well, she just sold a pilot to CBS. And so the stories were being written years ago, but now they're being written and actually being picked up. I mean, two people this last week were announced, two Latinas, Natalie Morales and some other writers who got their shows picked up. So the writing is there. And a lot of, Hentified, two Chicanos, I think they're Chicanos, that wrote Hentified about Boyle Heights being gentrified. And they write it, they know what they're writing, it has authenticity, and it's a hit on Netflix. So there are there's hope. There's a lot of little things happening.
Oh yeah, and the Hit the Fight started as a YouTube series. So
Yes.
so there's a lot of ways that people can get their chops. One woman play, like you said,
Yeah.
that
You
can
know,
pursue.
but just really quick, one of the producers that started Hentified was America Ferrera.
Oh.
She started that because she got the connections, you know, and now it went to Netflix, and she's still on, and she's now directing that too. But I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to give her props.
No problem. Well, thank you for giving her props, and props to you, Bel. Props to Katia as well, and Dr. Jose Ruiz for bringing us these Mexican American history makers. All three of you are Mexican American history makers, and we appreciate you using La Plaza de Cultura y Artes en Casa con la Plaza as your platform.
Such an honor. And just to say, next June 15th, we have Edward James Olmos as our next Mexican American history maker. So
Hey.
I hope you friends will tune in.
All right. Well, I'm sure they will, and we'll be sure to promote that one, just like we promoted this one and all the En Casa con la Plazas to come, including this Friday with Dan Guerrero. Our friend returns to En Casa con la Plaza with his happy hour with his special guests, Evelina Fernandez and Jose Luis Valenzuela, the founders of the Latino Theater Company and at the LA Theater Center, talking about Latinos in theater. Whereas where Dan himself got his start. So that's this Friday, 7 o'clock here in Casa con la Plaza. And then next week, go to our website, lapca.org, get the connection of what's going on in Casa con la Plaza, and also our family show, En Familia con la Plaza. Every Saturday, we put up new workshops and videos, cooking demonstrations, art classes on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook. This week coming up, a special live Zoom show at 10 o'clock in Familia con la Plaza, celebrating La Plaza de Cultura y Artes 10th anniversary.
Wow.
And last of all, we're reopening. This Thursday, April 15th, La Plaza de Cultura y Artes is reopening. You do need to go to our website, lapca.org, to make reservations. We're following all COVID-19 protocols with reservations, a health questionnaire, taking temperatures, masks only, social distancing, disinfecting, whatever it takes to keep you safe, but to get you in to enjoy our wonderful exhibits that haven't been seen in such a long time. We really miss you all. And so thank you all for tuning in tonight. Buenas noches.
Thank you.
Luego.
Bye-bye.